Tanzania, democracy under strain. What went wrong and what comes next? Hello and welcome to Frontline Macroanalysis TV. I'm Remy, your political analyst. Today, a deep look at Tanzania, a country that until recently was seen as a regional success story, now facing a wave of protests, accusations of enforced disappearances, and widespread anger at how public assets and democratic institutions have been handled. Over the next 30 minutes, we'll unpack how political leadership weakened democratic checks, the controversies around ports and transport, the rise of a politically awake Gen-Z, alarming disappearances and arrests of critics, how a prominent political party CCM left by the father of the nation Mwalimu Julius Nyerere slowing have lost a touch of reality, allowed to be penetrated by some deep state actors to root the resources. In his words, Nyerere once said, "If CCM refuses to listen to the people and fail to provide solution to contemporary issues, people will go outside of CCM party for the solutions and that the party will cry unstoppably." His prophecy has become the reality of today. Political class in Tanzania has swam into power for too long and got drunk into it. Like the say goes, power tends to corrupt and absolute power corrupts absolutely, ignored the needs of the people. Leadership ignored the signs for too long and did not even pay attention to what has been happening in other countries such as Madagascar, Nepal, Kenya, etc., and, most importantly, pragmatic solutions to pull the country back from the brink. Quick snapshot and why this matters. Let's set the scene. In late October 2025, Tanzania experienced nationwide unrest after an election many described as tightly controlled and exclusionary. Cities like Dar es Salaam, Mwanza, and Arusha saw large demonstrations. A nighttime curfew was imposed and internet access was restricted as authorities moved to restore order. All these unfolding, hundreds are reported dead in process, estimated 700 dead and counting on the second day. This is same mistake Nepal government made few weeks back. Independent outlets, opposition reports, and human rights groups have documented arrests, disappearances, and a heavy security response. These events are not isolated incidents. They are the latest flashpoint in a longer trend of democratic erosion, shrinking civic space, and allegations of state-linked abuses. A brief political history. Why? To understand today, we need a short history refresher. The Chama cha Mapinduzi, CCM, has been Tanzania's dominant party since independence. Over decades, CCM built broad networks of patronage and state control that delivered stability, but also concentrated power. Starting in the Magufuli era and continuing into the administration of President Samia Suluhu Hassan, there were repeated tensions between strong developmental promises and heavy-handed political control. Promises of infrastructure and growth often came with centralized decision-making, and when concerns were raised, institutions that should check power were weakened or sidelined. This history matters because it created incentives. Big deals and major projects moved fast, sometimes without robust transparency or oversight. When democratic checks are weak, corruption and misuse of public assets become more likely, and citizens grow distrustful. Political corruption becomes a way of life for the political class. His Excellence Pol Pot once said, "If your integrity is intact, then you will have a hard time inside the party." CCM has been gradually losing trust and integrity as all intelligent stakeholders have been forced out and replaced by immature individuals who can only be the "yes sir" or "yes ma'am." So you can imagine what to expect from a political party with such caliber. How leadership failed democracy. There are several interconnected ways leadership has failed democratic expectations in Tanzania. I'll list the main failings and give examples. 1. Shrinking civic space and repression of opposition. Opposition leaders have been arrested or disqualified from running, peaceful assemblies restricted, and social media throttled around critical moments. Observers and rights groups say arbitrary arrests and unlawful detentions increased in recent years. 2. Erosion of judicial and investigative independence. Institutions that should check executive power, anti-corruption bodies, regulatory authorities, sometimes the courts, have at times been weakened or politicized, so allegations of wrongdoing rarely translate into accountability when senior figures are involved. Imagine, for example, names of kidnappers have been named time and time again, and some are from police, but they are never held accountable nor any investigation. 3. Opaque decision-making in strategic projects. Major infrastructure and concession deals, ports, terminals, transport projects, were pursued through fast agreements and long concessions. That can bring investment, but without transparency there's a high risk of sweetheart deals, poor oversight, and public suspicion that assets are being sold off or handed to cronies. Energy, sugar imports, national security institutions' resources, and minerals are exploited by relatives to politicians. 4. Security-first governance over democratic remedy. When protests erupt, the reflex has often been to employ security measures, curfews, force, internet restrictions, rather than open political dialogue or independent investigation, which further corrodes trust. Put simply, concentration of power plus weak checks plus opaque deals plus securitized responses equals democracy under strain. Selling public critical infrastructure? What actually happened? Now, selling public infrastructure, is that happening? The answer is complicated. Tanzania has pursued public-private partnerships, PPPs, and long concessions for ports and transport. Some of these deals are genuine efforts to modernize infrastructure. Others sparked controversy because of their length, the parties involved, or perceived lack of transparency. Key points and example. 1. Port concessions and DP World Other D. LS. In recent years, the Tanzania Ports Authority signed long-term contracts giving foreign operators a major role in container terminals and port management, notably contracts with companies like DP World and other global operators. Critics argue such long concessions, some running decades, amount to surrendering control over strategic gateways unless robust safeguards and transparent tender processes are followed. A port as big as Dar es Salaam that plays a major role in supply chain across the East African region must be treated as a national security interest and should not be handed over to foreigners like a piece of breya. 2. Adani Third-Party Controve. RSY. There have also been headlines about contracts and relationships with big international private firms that triggered public debate about due process and whether national interests were fully protected. 3. Public transport, BRT and PPPs. Dar's bus rapid transit was rolled out using public funds and PPP arrangements. It's a real public good, faster transit, but when contracts, procurement, and compensation aren't fully transparent, perceptions of corruption take core. 4. Public contracts running within political family Bears. Supply of police resources handed to a prominent political figure. Involvement into state affairs by former president, links to deep states actors, CCM Tandaroni in Pol words, and whom they have made disappear without a trace. Political family members linked to criminals that are involved into kidnapping opponents of ruling party. So, infrastructure deals are inherently corrupt. However, many bring badly needed investment. Issue here is about the checks and balances. In other words, in an environment with weak oversight or poor public consultation, large concessions can feel like a sale of the national patrimony. That perception, accurate or not, fuels anger and is politically poisonous. The Gen-Z Uprising, New Politics, NEW Risks. Next, the role of Tanzania's youth. Gen Z, digitally connected, urban, and often frustrated with unemployment and political exclusion, has become a political force. 1. Who are they and why they? Protest. Many young Tanzanians prioritize jobs, cost of living, and a voice in governance. When elections feel unfair and political outlets are closed, young people take to the streets and to social media to express grievances. In the recent unrest, much of the mobilization was driven online and in cities, reflecting a generational shift. 2. How the state responded. The state's instinct has been control. Curfews, arrests, internet service shutdown. That represses short-term unrest but risks radicalizing youth, pushing them away from institutional politics and toward disruptive action. Power is like a drug. Once tested it, you need more, and that is exactly why it makes politicians ignorant, brutal, and use force instead of being responsible to their people. Young people rely on internet for income, so, like what happened in Nepal when internet is shut, then Gen Z has nothing else to do except releasing the anger they have towards injustice from political leadership. Any responsible leader would clearly understand that shutting down the internet is not a solution to youth in 2025. 3. Why this matters. Regionally, Tanzania's youth are a powerful political bloc. If they feel systematically excluded, the legitimacy crisis deepens and the chance for violent escalation rises. The political bargain that once delivered stability, accommodation of elites in exchange for order, is fraying under demographic and economic pressure. Kidnapping, enforced disappearances and false imprisonment. One of the most alarming aspects of the current crisis is the pattern of abductions, enforced disappearances, and arrests of critics and opposition figures. Multiple human rights organizations, opposition groups, and investigative outlets have documented a wave of disappearances and alleged extrajudicial actions in the run-up to and during the VOT. In period 1. What the reports say. Reports compiled by opposition parties and NGOs documented dozens of alleged abductions in a short period. Amnesty International produced a detailed report noting enforced disappearances, deaths, and restrictions on social media and expression during the election window. Human Rights Watch and Crisis Group have also highlighted arbitrary detentions and use of force. Pol, once a senior figure in the ruling Chama Cha Mapinduzi (CCM) party, resigned from his diplomatic post earlier in 2025 after publicly criticizing the government for its disregard of justice, the rule of law, and constitutional principles. He was kidnapped by people who are said to be unknown. Among those still missing are Anthony Gabriel, Daniel Chonkorio, Deuce Dedith Sokar, Dionys Kapanya, Faki Ali Salim, Frank Mbise, Jacob Mlay, Majude Nyagali, Shadrach Chawla, Cinder Mesedi, and Caesar M. Weta K. Hater. 2. Government response. The government has repeatedly denied systemic abuses, disputed NGO figures, and called some reports misleading or politically motivated. That back and forth is predictable, but independent evidence, hospital visits, and eyewitness accounts make it hard to dismiss all allegations. 3. Why this matters. Disappearances and politically motivated prosecutions break the social contract. They silence dissent, terrify civil society, and delegitimize institutions like the police and judiciary when they are seen as instruments of political repression. So basically, there is contract between citizens and politicians. It is a responsibility of a government of the day to provide security, management public resources accordingly, make policies that enables opportunities to citizens for employment, safe business environment, and social security. Henceforth, when the leadership fails to deliver on these duties, it does not qualify to run public affairs. Citizens have the rights to demand the leadership back and hand it over to those qualified to run the public affairs and meet required obligations as demanded from responsible citizens. What are the likely short and medium-term scenarios? There are 3 broad trajectories Tanzania could follow in the coming month. 1. Repression and stabilization. The state leans hard on security, suppresses dissent, and restores a formal order. This can reduce visible unrest but leaves grievances unresolved and increases long-term instability. I would not advise this approach because it is a recipe for disaster to happen. N. 2. Negotiated containment, a combination of limited concessions, targeted accountability for low-level perpetrators, and dialogue with some opposition actors eases tensions. This offers a managed path back to normalcy but requires political will. The constitution needs to be amended as demanded by other figures in oppositio. N. 3. Escalation and broader crisis. If repression deepens and popular anger grows without political opening or economic relief, protests could intensify, risking broader unrest and regional economic disruption. I cannot advise anyone to go down this road. Both political class and protesters should learn from experience from other countries that have been down this road before. Which path unfolds depends on decisions senior political leaders make in the next days and weeks, whether they choose control or compromise. E. Realistic solutions, the most important sect. Ion. Okay, solutions. Not slogans. Real, implementable steps that can start rebuilding democratic trust and protect national interests. I'll separate immediate, days, weeks, short-term, months, and structural, 1 to 3 years, proposer. LS. Immediate, days we. KS. 1. See successive force and lift blanket me's. Use. Immediate, verifiable release of peaceful detainees, lifting of blanket internet shutdowns and curfews where safe, and public commitment to proportionate policing. Independent observers should be allowed safe access. Practical first step to reduce immediate tensio. NS. 2. Set up an impartial, fast-track INQ. YORI. A small, time-limited independent commission, with respected domestic and neutral international members, to investigate disappearances, deaths, and allegations of abuse, with powers to recommend prosecutions and protections for witness. SES. Hold the elections that are controversial, agree on when and how to proceed, constitution amendment, set up agreed electoral commission, set a date for a new legitimate elect. ION. Short-term, MON. TICHS. 3. Open a political dialogue with credible media. TORS. A mediated national dialogue that includes major opposition parties, civil society, youth representatives, and traditional leaders, using parallels from successful African mediations, clear timelines, confidence-building measures, and public molesto. NES. 4. Freeze or review opaque high-value concess. IONS. Temporary moratorium on major new concessions or a transparent audit of recent large deals, ports, logistics, long concessions. An audit should be public, or redacted only for legitimate security reasons, and recommend contractual reforms to protect sovereignty. This doesn't mean stopping investment, it means renegotiating terms openly where necessary. Given the public concern around port and terminal deals, a review would address legitima. Psi. 5. Protect civic space and media free. EDM. Repeal or suspend laws that restrict peaceful assembly and expression pending legal review, unban or restore access to major social platforms used for civic dialogue, guarantee legal protections for journali. SDS. Structural 1 to 3 years. Plan. 6. Judicial and anti-corruption reform. Bolster the independence of courts and anti-corruption bodies with merit-based appointments, asset declaration systems, and an empowered, publicly accountable procurement watchdog. International technical partners can help with capacity build. ING. 7. Transparent infrastructure PO. LICI. Create a parliamentary oversight committee for strategic assets with public hearings and independent technical advisors. All future PPPs or concessions should pass a public value for money test and include reversion clauses to protect public interest. 8. Youth inclusion and economic opportu. 90. Invest in job programs targeted to urban youth, apprenticeships, transport and logistic skills for port-related employment, digital skills, create structured channels for youth voices in local governance, and revive civic education programs to rebuild the TR. UST. None of these are magic bullets. They require political courage and credible enforcement. But combined, they rebuild legitimacy, immediate restraint to stop the spiral, credible inquiry to show consequences for abuse, transparency around big economic deals to restore trust, and real economic and political inclusion for youth to undercut radicalize it. Ion. Tanzania's crisis is serious, but it's not irretrievable. Countries have turned back from these edges before when leaders chose accountability and inclusion over repress. Sion. If you found this useful, like, subscribe to Frontline Macroanalysis TV, and check the description for source links and a short reading list. Drop your questions and I'll read the best ones in the next episode.